What's up, everyone? Badda Skat here. Monday meditations. Yes, feeling good. I hope you are as well. Coming to you live from St. Petersburg, Florida, Badda Skat Studios. Yeah. Still getting this all worked out, so I appreciate your patience. I appreciate you coming through. I appreciate you subscribing the YouTube channel, hitting the button to turn on notifications. That way, when I do go live, you can receive the little pop-up on your phone, get the email, and come directly to the channel so you can view it and participate live, because this is live right now, coming to you live from the studio. So yeah, trying to change up, find the best perspective here to kind of you know, do these videos so I can talk to you guys and stay focused and keep everything straight and do everything all at once, which I'm still trying to figure out. So we're working on it, but I appreciate you coming through. If this is your first time here, this happens every Monday. So Monday morning I post the topic of discussion as a short video on Instagram and Facebook, and this topic is really just meant to get you to think a little bit deeper about things, to expand your consciousness, and hopefully help you to become the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And then we come back here on YouTube at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we discuss that topic in more detail and more depth. And I take your questions, and we basically just go through this topic and really just discuss it more. And so today's topic, again, sorry guys, I'm just getting everything straight here. So today's topic is tips for advancing your spiritual journey. So a lot of times while we're on our spiritual journeys, we will feel stuck. We will feel like we aren't making the progress that we need to, or that things aren't really working out as we expected them to work out, or just that we just kind of feel stuck. We kind of feel in a lull. We feel like we're not really advancing as quickly or as we should be. Maybe this is because we feel too distracted. Maybe we fall off of our practice of either meditation or exercise or eating right or whatever it may be, and it kind of, you know, gets us in a funk. You know, we don't feel too well about things, and so want to try to do things to kind of help reignite that spiritual journey. Or if you are on the spiritual journey and you want to kind of accelerate things, what can we do to help accelerate the process, to speed up the spiritual journey, to awaken quicker, or how to gain this knowledge and these powers at a more rapid rate? Well, it's kind of a yes, all of these things are possible, in a sense, okay? In essence, really, really, there's nothing that we can do to advance our spiritual journey. So kind of just to kind of break the ice and just kind of put it all out there from the forefront, there's really nothing that we can do to rush the spiritual journey, no matter how hard you try. So no matter what psychedelics or drugs you may take, no matter what type of food you may eat, no matter how often or what type of meditation you practice, none of this is going to speed up your spiritual journey. None of this is going to accelerate your awakening process, because really, you've already chosen your entire process before you were even incarnated. So you've already decided what processes you're going to go through. You already decided the good and the bad things that you're going to experience. You've already decided the trials and the tribulations and the types of things that you're going to go through as well. So in essence, there's really not a whole lot that you can do to change that. However, because you are here, because you are seeking this knowledge, this is information that you need to know. So whatever reason you came to this point today, whatever brought you here to this video, know that it's not an accident, and know that these things, even though technically we can't speed up our spiritual journey, they are still a benefit to you. So these things that you can employ into your lifestyle are still going to be a benefit to your life overall. Okay? Now, so again, you've already chosen this path that you're on. You've already decided what you're going to go through within your life. So really what you're here for is the experience. You're here to take in all of these good and bad things that happen to you as they happen and live through that experience. Each of these experiences gives us new knowledge, gives us new information, and this affects our lives. This affects the decisions that we will make moving forward within our lives. So all of these things come to us at certain points when we need them, when we're ready for them, and nothing that we can really do is going to make these things happen quicker. But you can set yourself up to be in a particular vibration to where the things that you need to receive are going to come to you more as they should. Okay? So tips to improve your spiritual journey. Tips to help make your spiritual journey as fruitful as possible. Okay, so the first thing I always tell everybody to do, everybody who is on this spiritual journey, everybody who is trying to seek to improve themselves, to be the best versions of themselves, I usually tell them first to quit their job. So I talked about this a couple weeks ago on Facebook Live, but essentially you need to quit your job. If you're on a spiritual journey and you are putting in those hours, compromising yourself, knowing that you shouldn't be doing this type of work, and yet you still go and do it, it's only slowing your progress. Yes, you need to find a proper way to then exist and become financially independent so that you can do whatever you choose to, and those things will fall into place for you. But you first need to remove all of the distractions and all of the barricades and the walls that have been set up to prevent your progress at all. And a lot of this comes through the workplace. A lot of this comes through our society's perception of how we need to be, how we need to exist within our lives. And so once you can kind of step out of that, things start to become a little clearer. Now, this isn't going to be easy. It's you're going up against years and years, decades sometimes, of indoctrination and confusion and distraction and fear mainly. So when you first decide to quit your job, you're going to be scared. You're going to be like, how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to eat? What am I going to do to survive? But these things will fall into place for you. And as you start to find your passions again and start to re-pursue these things, then those things are only going to happen for you quicker. The needs that you need to meet, the financial obligations that you have, will meet themselves. They will find a way to work themselves out once you start following your true purpose, and that will only happen quicker once you start doing this more often and more with more heart, right? So that's usually the first thing I recommend to all people that are seeking to be the best versions of themselves, is stop compromising yourself, especially on a daily basis, doing something that you don't want to do. And it's usually your job. So quit that job. And then some other things that you can do. I'll come back to the whole quit your job thing later. I kind of touch on it as well, but eat better foods. Now, eating better foods can mean a lot of different things, and ultimately I feel that everybody will come into the knowledge of what foods they need to eat, what foods are best for them for their particular point wherever they may be in their journey. And that's something else I skipped over in the beginning, but the spiritual journey that we're all trying to advance here, the spiritual journey that we're trying to quicken or trying to, accelerate, it's going to be different for everybody. Everybody is in a different point within their journey. So some of these things may work for some people and some of them may not. Some people may not be able to just turn around and quit their job tomorrow morning. Some people have already been thinking of it, and this is all they needed, was that final push, that final, sign that it's what they need to do. So everyone's different. You need to be mindful of this and keep this in mind when you are doing these things to help yourself. Know that it's not necessary to pass judgment on other people if they may not be in the same position that you're in, or in the same point within their journey. Some people have gone through many more lifetimes than others, and so these lessons that we learn and carry with us, some people still need to learn some of the earlier lessons, but it's all different for every single person. So just be mindful of where you are within your process and do what works best for you. All I'm giving you here are just some tips, some things that I've used within my journey, that others have used within their journeys, to kind of help within their process. But you should really do what works best for you in your time. So eating better foods could mean just seeking better sources. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to move to a all raw vegan diet, but I think ultimately in time everybody will come to these realizations as they acquire different knowledge, different consciousness. So but eat better foods. So don't settle for what you feel everybody's eating, or is normal or expected for you to eat, even if it means seeking out better ingredients or better sources for your foods. Just eat better foods. Foods that have less trauma, less negativity attached to them, because all of these things are retained within the cellular fibers of these materials, whatever it is, plants or animals. So I promote a plant-based diet. Now, why? Because plants are electric foods. Plants are living foods. Plants are alkaline. Now, what this means is that they carry energy within them. Flesh and animal byproducts, they're all dead. So they don't have that type of energy that is used by our cells to revitalize our tissues and our inner materials. So seeking plant-based foods that are high in vibration and that are essentially or foods that are more photosynthesis based. Now, why photosynthesis? Because the sun is essentially our life source. Okay, nothing would exist on this planet, in this solar system, without our sun. So the sun basically distributes the energy that we need to us through various different sources. We get the heat energy physically that comes through. We use this to warm our homes, to decide where we choose to reside, to grow our food, and the way plants use the sun is a process called photosynthesis. Now they take the sun's energy, they turn it into the food that they use in order to grow, and so therefore when we consume plants, we take on this sun's energy and the information that has been submitted to these plants as well. It's kind of like our way to download the sun's information. It's our way to take in this physical energy into our system by consuming it. So the information that you can receive from plants can grant you additional knowledge and wisdom, and bring back ancient knowledge and wisdom that you may have had that have forgotten. So finding this connection with plants, and especially again the photosynthesis plants, are ways that you can get knowledge from the cosmos, from other living organisms. When these organisms die, that energy transfer is much harder to come by. It's still there, but it's much harder to come by. It's more of a traumatic energy that we receive instead. So but the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding, all of this can be attained or can be acquired from the consumption of plants. And this consciousness again promotes further advancement in your spiritual journey. So so the food you eat definitely affect your consciousness, but again, not necessarily a requirement in order to be a conscious person. So now some plants hold this information in their DNA. So photosynthesis is one way for plants to kind of gain this information from the cosmos, but it can also be retained within the DNA of plants as well. So when you consume plants that have complex and extensive DNA, then you also have the ability to attain this knowledge and this information. So things like mushrooms, other psychoactive plants, all plants are in some degree, they all contain some chemicals that would be considered psychoactive to us. Some obviously in much higher concentrations than others, but this information that is retained within the DNA of plants is also something that we can benefit from when we use it properly. So research these things. Again, do what's best for you within your journey. I'm not telling everybody to go out and start tripping right now, but you need to experiment wisely and do what's best for you. If these things are calling to you, may not be by accident. So just be mindful of these things, all right? Some other things that you can do to help with this process is to wake up early. When you wake up early, especially before the sun rises, and try to catch the sunrise as well, try to watch it if you can, but when you wake up early, you give yourself a little time for yourself. I find it especially beneficial if I have been stressed out, if I'm able to get up early before everybody else is kind of woken up, before the neighborhood has started going, before people are out mowing their yards, or you hear cars or any of that stuff, before people start becoming more active, before that energy changes. If you can get up before then, again, it kind of gives you more time for yourself, more time where you can just take a step back from all of the distractions, from all of the hustle and bustle, and center yourself within your thoughts. And but then there's also, if you're able to watch the sunrise, again, this is another way for you to kind of reconnect with this energy transfer, because not only is getting up early, watching the sunrise, it's a type of meditation, and it's a great time to implement other different types of meditations as well. But when you watch the sunrise, you're sun gazing, even if it's an indirect sun gaze. So the practice of sun gazing is definitely something that you should research if you have any interest in it, but be very careful, because the sun can definitely burn out your eyes. So you have to do it at certain times and at very limited intervals, as you're building up your tolerance and as you're building up your download capabilities, because essentially this is a direct connection to that transfer, that energy transfer. And it's another way for you to download information from the cosmos, right? One of the biggest things that you can do, regardless of any of this other stuff, and regardless of where you may be on your journey as well, is to just go out and have fun. Okay? Having fun, finding your inner child again, finding the things that make you happy, that you are passionate about. These things, they first reduce stress, which frees up that energy for spiritual advancement, but it helps you to, again, to reconnect with the inner you, who is not so distracted, worried all the time, that doesn't have bills to pay, that doesn't have a job to go to. And this innocence is something that we all had at one point in time, but our society, our systems, our norms, our the various things we experience, they alter this as we get older, but it's still in you, it's still there. So being able to go back and kind of reconnect with that as much as possible, it's not easy, but trying to have as much fun as you can, doing things that are fun to you, will help you to reconnect with that. And that's going to help you to advance your spiritual journey in a more meaningful way. So also you can, or other things that you can do as well would be to listen to your inner voice, your intuition, that divine communication. This is actually also your higher self communicating with you as well. Because like I said before, all the things that we go through in life, we've actually already chosen for ourselves. We already know that these things are going to happen to us. We know that we're going to have certain failures. We know that we're going to have certain success. We do so in order to simply experience these things. And from the experience, we learn, we evolve, we grow spiritually. And ultimately, it's going to polarize, the type of individual that you are. And this is your spiritual journey. So the life that we live, even though we think that we are in control of it, that we are consciously making decisions that have, or that affect things around us, really it's all been decided already. You already have chosen all of this stuff that you're going to go through, all of the experiences that you're going to have, all the people that you're going to interact with. That's already been chosen by you. So when you have these inner voices, this intuition that speaks to you, this guiding voice, this is your higher self basically letting you know of these decisions that you've made, giving you the insight that you need in order to navigate through these different decisions and to gain and acquire the knowledge and experience that you need to from these different things that happen to you. So listening to this voice will help to, again, guide your process. And just know that this is yourself speaking to you. This is your advanced soul, you in a higher density, speaking to yourself in this form. So hope that made sense. But also I didn't mention this in the beginning either, but if you have any questions as we're going along, please feel free to leave them in the chat and I will address them as they come in. I think I see them in real time. Doesn't look like any have come in yet, but perhaps. Again, I think I see it in real time, so. But, okay, so some other stuff. I also use this analogy a lot, but one way to make your spiritual journey better or easier to move through is to ride the wave. Basically see it as yourself in a wave, riding this wave, because life is all just one giant wave. Life is just one, series of ups and downs that we go through. So riding the wave basically means to know that you're not always going to be successful. Know that sometimes you will stumble. Sometimes things aren't going to work out as you choose or how you want them to, and that's okay. We need to go through the down times in order to recognize and appreciate the up times. So as a surfer, you're not always riding or not always catching waves. Sometimes they're too big, sometimes they're too small, sometimes you just sit there and nothing comes through. So riding the wave is basically knowing when things are good, being accepting and gracious for the good things that are coming to you, but also know that bad things will happen, and being accepting and gracious of these bad things too will also help make them easier to bear and easier to go through. When you can learn to be gracious or give gratitude for even your downfalls, then your whole outlook on life completely changes. This isn't an easy thing to do because nobody wants to go through bad stuff. And so when you're going through this bad stuff, it's not always easy to be like, oh, hey, thanks for all of this negativity that I'm receiving right now. But that outlook will change the negativity into positivity just by being grateful for it. So just riding the wave basically means just knowing that things will not always be up. They have to be down sometimes as well. So, and then snap, got a couple questions, I think. Bless up again to everybody watching. Big up to my Empress. Is this thing on? Hello? Tap tap. This thing on? I think so. Alyssa, big up Alyssa, thanks for tuning in as well. Alyssa says, what advice would you give for navigating multiple passions or purposes? Also, do you believe that our reactions to the trials and tribulations are also chosen by us prior or as a test? And then my Empress says, Alyssa, do all the things. What advice would I give for people, or to people navigating multiple passions or purposes? Having multiple passions is definitely not a bad thing. I've always kind of felt throughout my entire life that I've never really had any main decisions or main I want to be this when I grow up, because I've had so many varied interests. I like a whole range of different things. So like going into college, it was hard for me to decide what major I should pick because I wanted to do so many different types of practices. I wanted to learn so much different stuff. That's not a bad thing. Now, I've also always equated life to being like one of those video games where you have a certain amount of energy and you can allocate that energy into different features. So like if I use this old racing game that I used to play in the arcade back when I was a kid, and it was trucks, racing trucks, and they were off-road trucks, and you had so much money is what it was. You had so much money that you could put into your truck, but basically this is your life energy. So you have so much life energy that you can put into your vehicle, into your life, to determine what's going to be successful. So you could put so much money into your shocks, or into your engine, or into the nitrous to make you go faster, or into various different aspects of the car or of the truck. And the same thing applies to your life. You can put your energies into various different aspects, various different interests that you may have. Just know that what you put the most energy into is what's going to be the most successful. So if you really like music, but you also really like art or drawing or electronics or production, you can do all of those things, and you can have different levels of success in all of them as well. But if you can devote your energy into one specific thing, then that's going to most likely be what's going to bring you success or be the most successful. Now, what success is what you decide and what you define. So, that's all still a giant variable. But having multiple passions or multiple purposes in your life is not a bad thing. That's a great thing. Most people feel they don't have any purpose in life. So to feel that you have multiple is great. Definitely go for all of them. And some may be more necessary or more beneficial at certain times for your journey, but that's all going to answer itself for you. You just need to listen to what's calling you. Which of these multiple passions is calling you right now? Go with that. And if it changes, go with something else. No worries, not a big deal. So, good question though. And then also, do you believe that our reactions to the trials and tribulations are also chosen by us prior, or a test? All of it's chosen. How you're going to react, the things you will experience, it's all already chosen. So there's nothing new under the sun. What we're here to do is just experience these things. So if you go through something that brings about a strong emotional reaction, that was meant for you. When you learn how to be more mindful of your emotions and not allow them to control your reaction, that's just a different level of consciousness. But you've already chosen what you were going to go through and how you're going to get to this information and at what time. So everything that we go through in our journey is all meant for us at that particular time. So again, as there's no way to really advance your spiritual journey, there's no way to alter what you're going to experience based on the choices and decisions you make. So Empress Desiree says, clarify chosen. You don't mean we choose the scenarios, make them up, but we are aware of what's to come, correct? We don't I mean, prior to us being born in this lifetime, we choose the things that we are going to go through. So now this isn't like a conscious decision that we make as humans. These are decisions that our souls make. So our soul chose to come into this life at this time to go through these experiences, and all of the experiences have been predetermined. They've been pre-selected. They've been predestined. Everything's already been planned out prior to us even being born. Now we chose those things that are going to happen. We essentially planned out that lifetime for ourselves, everything that's going to happen. So it's not conscious decision that we can understand, because even though it is a decision and what's making the decision is consciousness, it's not a human grasp of consciousness that makes that decision. It's our spirit, it's our soul's decision prior to us assuming a physical form and then experiencing these things in this particular vibration. So we can't, once we become awakened individuals, once we become more conscious of ourselves, we may feel that we have more control or more conscious influence on the things that we're going to experience, but ultimately we don't. We already know these things that we're going to go through, even post awakening, that we feel here as humans. So very, I know that probably didn't clear anything up, but yeah, it's not a human conscious decision. So, and then Alyssa says, in that concept of thinking, I wonder why people will choose bad paths or keep making the same mistakes. Some die because of it. Do they ever learn from it? Yes and no. Sometimes we choose to have more trial or more troublesome lifetimes, either as a way of payment, or as a way of to learn. I mean, ultimately, everything that we go through within our lifetimes is meant for the experience, the good and the bad. And this is what usually a lot of people have a problem grasping, is that, why would people choose to have a bad lifetime? Why would their soul decide to live through hunger or disease or sickness or trauma or violence? Why would a soul choose to go through these things? Sometimes the choice is a choice of repentance, a choice of payment. Sometimes the choice that those types of lives are chosen as a type of a sacrifice that the soul makes to itself in order to evolve, in order to grow. Essentially, okay, ultimately, we're all going to come to the knowledge that love and harmony is the true way of existence. Ultimately, we're all going to come to this knowledge, but the process of getting there is one of polarization. So when people live their lives, when people live these experiences, they're meant to polarize us to feel a certain way. And the feeling is it's not that we feel good or we feel bad. We feel a sense of service. Now, the service is either going to be service to self or service to others. And this is the polarization. Both, though, are service. Both are, in a sense, the right path. So neither of these things is really better than the other. It's just different sides of the magnet. Okay? It's different polarizations, different poles within creation. They're both ultimately necessary and absolutely necessary for our existence. So neither is really good or bad. It's just one's on one side of the spectrum and the other is on the other. Now, as we go through our densities and as we advance through life forms, through first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth density, once we get to the seventh density, ultimately, we're going to be all good. We'll come to the knowledge that everything is creation, that all people, all beings, all material, all objects, all all sense of vibration is creation, and all is one. So all of this is essentially oneness. Once we get to this knowledge of oneness, that oneness is love, is unity, is harmony. Because even in this duality that we're experiencing right now, it's still in a sense of harmony. We have to have the negative in order to know the existence of positive. In order to ride the wave, we have to sit at the bottom sometimes. So to even know that a wave exists, we have to be at the bottom. So yes, we all learn from it. Even the bad experiences, yes, are meant to be a learning experience. And the soul is what's learning. The soul is what's going through this evolution, not us here in the physical form, though we are the vehicles and the vessels for the evolution. The soul is ultimately the body, the spirit, our inner self is really what's evolving and what's acquiring the knowledge here. So I hope that made sense as well. Big up, Alyssa. Great questions. But yeah, so if there is anything else, definitely feel free to submit it. But if not, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Again, thank you, everyone. Please feel free to share this video, share it on Facebook. Help just get people over here. It's gonna take some time. I know moving from one platform to another is always a challenge. So it will take time before it kind of builds like it was on Facebook. But hopefully that won't take too long. So the more you can share it, the more people can come over here, the easier and the faster that will happen. But thank you for subscribing. Hit the little bell icon next to the subscribe button. That way you do get notifications on when I go live. This happens again every Monday. So thank you again for tuning in. Enough respect to you all. I'll see you next Monday. So Badda Skat, Monday meditations. Enough respect to you all. Signing out. I'll see you next week. Boom.